and going live on Facebook. As soon as that starts, we can start. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. Let's just let this hit Facebook, and we are live. Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us on this fabulous Wednesday. Welcome to Transferable Skills, the secret to landing your next job. We hope you have a wonderful holiday season so far as we enter the final legs of 2021. So most people imagine that their career is a straight path to retirement, but unfortunately, it's rarely like that. There's lots of twists and turns and lots of different pivots. In today's webinar, we have Asha Aravindakshan and Gabby Zilka from Res Market.
Yeah, you got it.
And they'll be talking about how each of you can understand to build your personal brand and demonstrate your transferable skills. We will be sharing and working through career challenges live. And of course, we will also be answering questions that you may have. As a note, this webinar will be recorded and will be made available within 7 business days. And now, Asha, Gabby, please.
Thank you. Well, welcome everybody. My name is Gabby and I am the Chief Operating Officer and one of the co-founders of Res Market. So what Res Market is, you might be thinking, like, what's the zebra and what's going on? So you can go to the next slide, Asha. So Res Market is a marketplace of career advisors. We have awesome people from different industries and backgrounds and experience levels, and they all offer great career advice at affordable prices. So our prices really have accessibility at the front and center. We typically have our advisors in the $40 to $60 range for a resume review session, a cover letter prep session, anything that can help you throughout your application process. And again, the industry specific lens, right? If you're looking for a job in marketing, or if you're looking for a job in product management, we have advisors who are there to be able to help you and get that insider industry knowledge at that affordable price. So if you head to the next slide. And we offer these 5 services. And as of today, we are also offering LinkedIn revisions, which is super exciting. So if you are interested, if you're like, I want a LinkedIn revamp, or if you are applying to jobs and you need some help figuring out where to begin, how to start thinking about that application process, you can go for the career pathing session. And then once you're in the weeds and you know what you want from your resume and cover letter, you can book one of those sessions, and then you've got the interview prep. Each session is 45 minutes long, and it's meant to be a complete thing. Our goal is not to upsell you, it's to provide you something of value in that period of time, and to really be able to help you level up your career and get to that step and that place you want to be, to navigate that winding road that you're going to be experiencing throughout your career journey, which can also be fun, stressful, but fun. And our goal is to help you get to that place. So to navigate their Res Market website, you can go to resmrkt.com. and you'll be able to see our list of advisors. You can click the Get Started button at the top or in the middle of the page, and that'll navigate you to our list of advisors where you can select the service offering that you're interested in that the advisor offers, book a session with them, and then we'll do the part of getting things scheduled, and then you'll be able to be on your way, getting the help that you need to help with your application. So one thing too I wanted to highlight is our mission. So our goal here is to change the way the world finds work. Our company was founded because our CEO had the same problem where she was looking for an advisor to help her with her application and found so many places out there that were charging $300+ for resume review. And she just wanted some quick help and support to help make sure she was in the right direction and that she was going to be able to land the job that she wants and understand what was preventing her from getting to where she needed to be. So all of our advisors are vetted by the Res Market team. We have quality at the forefront. We offer a money back guarantee if you're not happy with your session. And our goal here is really to help you articulate what you have already earned. And I think that this is going to be awesome with this session too, thinking about those transferable skills, right? Just like our zebra, you just need to know how to show off your stripes. You've already done the hard work of earning them. And we're here to help you today, really figure out how to take that and get to that next step. And even more exciting news. So if you're like, wow, that LinkedIn session seemed really cool, I want to book one. We do have a promotion from now until the end of January with Albert's List. You'll get 5% off a ResMarket session when you use code Albert's List at checkout. So please feel free, take a look at our advisors. I actually have a bet with our CEO that we're going to be able to get 15 sessions by the end of today. If I lose the bet, she gets to choose what karaoke song I have to do in a public venue. So please don't make me have to sing some sort of really embarrassing song. It would be terrible. And if you do have song suggestions for what I can tell my co-founder that she's gonna have to sing, you can also drop those in the chat, because I know once we hit our 15 sessions, that she'll have to do something really embarrassing. Right now I'm deciding between a really long song. Ooh, Wake Me Up Before You Go is a great suggestion, Lily, thank you. I don't know, I feel like I like I Will Survive. Those are upbeat anthems. Also, these are great suggestions. Please make sure that I don't have to sing them by booking a session. That would be fantastic. And again, make sure to check out the promo code. If you need help picking an advisor too, you can always send us an email, resmarket@gmail.com, and we'll be able to help guide you in that right direction. I like opera. You're right, I'm gonna make her sing opera. That sounds fantastic. Cool. And then we also have another exciting announcement, which is that we're doing a giveaway. So what you have to do to enter into this contest to win one of the copies of Skills, the Common Denominator, the book that Asha wrote, spoiler alert, is you'd have to follow us and then use the hashtag Skills by Asha on your Twitter post. At the end of today's event, you have to be here to claim your prize. We're gonna scroll through our Twitter feed, close our eyes, pick one at random, and that lucky person will be able to win a copy of the book. So please make sure to tag us on Twitter and follow us, and we'll be able to get you that free copy. And I'll post the rules as well in the chat so that you all have that after this part is done. Great, and without further ado, I get to introduce the wonderful Asha. So we know Asha as a ResMarket advisor and a vice president at Sprinklr, but a few months ago, she added author to her list of titles. And let me tell you, this book is seriously awesome. She wrote a book on career development and how we can use our transferable skills to find success. I personally had my own career journey going from an AmeriCorps member in the nonprofit world to a product manager at SAP, and now I guess a startup founder. And it's been quite the experience. And I know that I've really relied on transferable skills. So seeing the way Asha in her book has been able to take people's personal stories and help you understand how other people have navigated these career pivots is wonderful. And I'm so excited that she's here to share these real life examples and help you identify and articulate your transferable skills. So without further ado, Asha, over to you.
Thanks, Gabby. I'm so glad to be here with the ResMarket team and the Albert's List team to show folks how they can use their transferable skills for career success. And as Gabby mentioned, I recently wrote a book called Skills, the Common Denominator. The presentation is based on the book. And the goal of today is to help you build your brand as you transition into a new role or a venture. So I have just thrown the link to the book in the chat if you want to check it out. This is also the QR code that you can scan to see more about the book on Amazon. All right, so the first part of the presentation is actually going to come from part one of the book. So I want you to be able to stay aligned to the content. And if you choose to read the book, you'll understand where I'm coming from. So I actually want to take you through my background. And what I'm going to do when I tell you my background, I'm going to take you through two different versions of it to show you how you can tell your story in multiple ways depending on your audience. So now a lot of the Albert's List members, for example, work in technology. So I will share my background working in technology. I've been, I'm a senior executive. I work in business operations, but always with the technology angle, and been working with cloud products for the last 8 years. And so when I look at the screen and I explain my story, I can say, yes, I did start my career in a nonprofit planning events, but I was the first user of an event technology called Cvent. It was the first one of its kind at that time. And being the first customer, I participated in beta testing and really exhaustive feedback loops with the founding team to help build the product. And that was a really exciting experience, especially given nonprofit events is a very different type of work. The next pivot, I went into the corporate executive board where we were dealing with best practice research. But at the time, our customers, as they were growing larger with us, they wanted one website where they could come versus 18 or 20 websites where they would have to go to previously to access their research. So I worked with the technology team to build that website, to test it with some of our largest customers, and then roll it out across the board. So again, there's that technology bent in the work that I'm doing, which I didn't ask for. It really was, dropped on my plate. From there, I went into a government technology role. I hadn't worked in government. And as I just mentioned, I've been in operations mostly, so it was new to be in tech. But I was given responsibility over strategy and performance management. So I used that performance management role to understand 30 different technology projects across the government. And those projects were in public safety, education, healthcare, or sometimes they were internal facing on the apps that we were using within the government for telephony, for human capital management, and student information systems. So really helped me understand what we did as a government serving the citizens of the city, but also all the different types of technology that exist in the tech stack, and helped me become fluent, becoming a person who could translate that tech from business people to non-business people. From there, I did a major shift. I went to work for a nonprofit, a global nonprofit called Ashoka, which is based in Washington, D.C., and I was able to run their HR operations. Don't have a background in HR. I convinced them to hire me for this role, and I ended up spending 2.5 years there. And in that role, I got to work with implementing an HR technology platform, the first time the company had ever had one. And it was so successful, I had 95% adoption in 2 months. And I know you're looking at why would people want to use the HR platform? I found a way to use our performance reviews, which everyone really cares about because it ties to their bonus payouts, as part of the launch of the platform. And so this kind of just understanding human nature, employee experience, and bringing it together with what was happening as far as automating how we did our work led to the high adoption of this tool. And that helped me also get on the map because I did this adoption and I did the rollout so quickly, got exposed to different thought leaders in the technology space that I'm still connected with today. From there, I joined Sprinklr. Sprinklr, I've been here almost 3.5 years now, and it's a customer experience management company that's helping global enterprises. So back in Pivot 2, where I was at the corporate executive board, I was working with enterprise companies. So I know how these companies buy and purchase, which helps me when I advise our account teams how they buy and purchase our software. So that's actually something that was really interesting, that even 10, 15 years later, they're still doing things the same way because they're large companies, a lot of bureaucracy. I've been given a lot of responsibility related to employee experience and reducing friction that they feel with technology on the internal side. And so kind of putting together my experience in the government and at Ashoka, I'm able to have a lens of okay, this is how we can improve the processes for our employees and improve their productivity, especially during the pandemic, where it's been, it was hard for people to be home and to be isolated. And then the last pivot I'll talk about is, about a year ago, I decided to start writing a book to put together my experiences of having these transferable skills and capture stories of other people. So I have 24 other people in the book. They have an average of 6 pivots each of how they found career success and career happiness by leaning on their skills to open the door and into a new opportunity. So that's version 1 of my story. As you can see, I've clearly painted a picture of how I'm familiar with technology, that I've had that since my first job, and that I have the skill and the will to continue working with technology as I make my future steps. Now, if I go to the next slide, I'm going to talk to you as if I've only worked in operations. And so this version is, my career pivots haven't changed, right? But I'm going to use different words to articulate to you how I am a solid operator. And so in that first role where I'm working in the nonprofit planning events, I had to manage the budget. I had to manage contract negotiations with multiple vendors, and I had to manage all the logistics for 75 events during those 3 years. From there, I took that expertise of really, it's event management, project management, and switched into an account management role. And what was interesting was in account management, you're always trying to hit the renewal date. And so by working, and from the renewal date, you want to work backwards on your service delivery with that customer, which is just like planning an event. So my skills were super transferable. Although we didn't know it at the time, it made sense that I could switch from doing an event management role to an account management role. And so I spent 4 years in that role doing account management. And on the side, I got really interested in analytics and data and looking at how much we had in our portfolio of accounts and, for rebalancing and purposes like that. So kind of developed that skill during that time. When I switched into the government role, I, was definitely leveraging more of a project management skill. And so I started to find similarities between event management, project management, and account management. And so here I'm given responsibility over strategy, budget, and performance management. And so really had to flex my muscles in project management to make sure that our initiatives were kept on track and on time. From there, I went to work at Ashoka, a global nonprofit. I was given responsibility of not just the program management of the HR operations, whether it's compensation, benefits, offer letters, performance reviews, but also this HR technology project, which really helped. I used my project management skills to make sure we delivered that on time. From there, I joined Sprinklr. At Sprinklr, I'm able to improve our employee experience by reducing technology friction, something that I've learned in all my roles. And I'm also used to use analysis to understand what we're doing in relation to our competitors. And so I'm bringing together the different parts of my experience, account management, project management, the data and analytics together in the Sprinklr role where I'm a vice president of operations. And again, about a year ago, I decided to take a reflection moment, capture all these learnings and everything into a book. And I've been able to help a lot of people by giving these book talks and selling the book through Amazon. So here, when you hear these two stories, they're very different. One, I love working in technology. Two, I'm an operator. When you think about the stories of yourself and how you position yourself, can you see yourself having more than one story? Why don't you go ahead and put that in the chat if you can see yourself having more than one story. And while you're doing that, I'm going to go to the next slide here, where I'm actually going to highlight one of the stories from the book, where it's about my friend Anjali Nayak. She was a music entrepreneur who became a robotics entrepreneur. Great. I love seeing the yeses that are coming in the chat because all of you have these multiple stories inside of you, which means you have transferable skills. And so with Anjali, if I were to summarize her story, it's this quote on the page. It doesn't matter what business it is, you're building relationships that help you optimize and scale a business. And so I think this applies to all of us, right? We know how important relationship building is. And so if I tell you a little more about Anjali's story, here she's chapter 5 of the book. She's had 8 career pivots, and she developed her key skills very early in life, working in her parents' furniture store. And so she saw how they interacted with the customers that came in or the vendors that they were working with. And she took that with her into all of her roles. And so here, Anjali was able to pivot her career between large companies like MGM Studios and Google into tech startups like Narvar and now Cart-Ken. And by flipping back and forth, she learned to stay agile and learned how to adapt to change. And so she just knows that she's really strong in operations and organizing things. And these type of companies, no matter how large they are, they need to know that. So she then goes on to pivot and learns that there's always gaps between the customer experience and product. And I think for most of us that work in technology, you're probably nodding your head, smiling like, yep, there definitely is. And she found a sweet spot of being able to translate the requirements that a customer asked for to the engineers. And so she used business analysis to capture that feedback and put it into the technical terms and prioritize it for the engineers. This is a skill, and it's a very important skill. And I so many of you that are wanting to continue working in tech or switch into tech, take note of how you've done business analysis in the other work that you've done. Finally, I talked about how important relationships were. She learned how to build her stakeholder relationships by scheduling routine meetings. If she kicked off a project, she would say, let's have a weekly meeting. If not weekly, bi-weekly, and then when the project finishes, let's continue having a monthly call. Because she wanted to make sure that she had a feedback loop with the customer throughout their life cycle with the company. And by that, she's learning to lead with a customer first mentality. And I think in today's day and age, that's what we want from everyone that we work with, no matter whether we're going to the corner store or we're buying technology in the workplace. We want to have that customer first mentality. So her skills of adapting to change, business analysis, and customer first, these are so important. And it's something that she's developed and cultivated over a 20-year career. And now she's co-founder and COO, Chief Operations Officer of the autonomous robotic startup called Cart2Ken. And so she's able to bring together different components of her experience into this role, and she's loving it. She's loving being able to lean on different things she's learned throughout her career in this new role. So I want you to think about your transferable skills. And I'm going to take you now into part 2 of the book, where we're going to talk about the personal brand. So here, the skills to advance your career, I think, are completely based off your transferable skills. You want to be able to show transferable skills from your past work experience or your volunteer activities, or maybe school experiences, to others. You have to be able to identify them. I just gave you a really strong example with Anjali's, and I have, as I said, 25 other stories in the book, and then articulate that to maybe, if you're an employer, to job candidates, if you're a job candidate to employer, if you have customers that you're serving, you may want to be able to show like they can trust you based on the skills that you have. And then you want to be able to also like grow your team by finding others with similar complementary skills. And this can also flip the reverse. If you know someone that's hiring for these skills, it makes it easier to have that conversation. And so this all ties back to your personal brand. And so go here. You need, to establish a reputation. Your reputation becomes your calling card. It shows that you have the experience and the credibility to be a leader in your field, and that's why you want to be part of that next team that you want to join. And know that your personal brand can change over time and that you can rebrand. The reason I showed you those 2 examples in the beginning is I can rebrand myself as a technologist, as an operator, or even I have a really strong passion for ed tech. I could even do a slide on that and explain to people my story there. And so with all of this said, your elevator pitch actually becomes a really key component of your personal brand. And so I know all of you are probably rolling your eyes, like the elevator pitch is super simple. I can come up with that really quickly. But for anyone that stumbled over their pitch, you know that a good one takes preparation and practice. So we're going to do a little bit of that today. And the first thing I want you to start off with is I want you to think about, what is your superpower? And the reason I use that word is transferable skills are, also called superpowers. And I think we see that as the more buzzy word in the media. And each one of us, we have 1 or 2 or 3 superpowers that we use in our day-to-day activities. One of mine is focus. I want you to think about yours and write it down. Right? I'm going to get my timer out for the next exercise. Okay, so now let's talk about the elevator pitch. So the elevator pitch, you want to think about building it with 3 things in mind: the time, the most relevant details about you that are tailored to your audience, and your goal in the interaction. I think 30 seconds is a lot of time to relay information about you. In this example, I want to show you here, I'm giving you 2 ways to write your elevator pitch. The first one is who you are, what you want to do, and to answer the question for the other person, how may I help you? Because when they're listening, they want to know how to react to what you're saying. Perhaps you want to go into business development or sales, and you want to establish a connection with a customer. You need to be able to say who you are, why they should listen to you, and you want to be able to answer, why should I trust you? And that's really important for building that authentic relationship with a customer. And so this pitch has to be memorable and it has to be specific. And so I mentioned previously that my superpower that I was going to talk about was focus. So I incorporated my superpower into my elevator pitch. Hi, I'm Asha. I published my first book on career development. I'm focused on selling 100 books this month. If you were me, how would you do that? And so what I've done there is created an open-ended question, not a yes/no question, to create a dialogue, facilitate a conversation, and understand from you what you think about my situation. That's the kind of thought that you want to put into your elevator pitch. My example there is about 9 seconds. So you understand 30 seconds is a really long time. And so I want you to think about your pitches, and you are going to tweak them depending on who you're talking to, what the scenario is, and you'll understand what feels more effective or more authentic to you. All right. So this is where now you're going to get your pens ready. And I want you to take 2 minutes, and I'm going to time this. I want you to write your own elevator pitch, and then I'm going to have you put it into the chat, and we're going to read a couple of them out loud and give some real-time feedback. And then when you are happy with your elevator pitch, you want to save it to your desktop, and that way you can use it in other Zoom conversations you go into really easily. So I'm going to go ahead and put a 2-minute timer. And I will let you know when you have a minute left.
Feels like an impromptu tell me about yourself
in a virtual setting.
Yeah.
Colin, you better be writing. I'm going to pick on you.
Considering it.
Easy target. And while people are thinking, for those of you who have signed up for the live skill development portion, if you're here, you can send a message just to the hosts and panelists, letting us know that you're around and still interested in working on it. And we'll then call you up at the second part of the event.
Thirty seconds left. So if you want to start putting your pitches into the chat, we're going to read a couple out loud here. There we are at time. Great. Ashley's first up. Gabby, do you want to read that for me?
You bet. I've been a graphic designer with 7 years of experience in the design industry. As I see the world is evolving away from static paper packaging, I've decided to pursue a major career pivot to front-end software engineering. That's awesome.
That's awesome, Ashley. It's very specific. So I think that's great. What I would love is you to add one more statement. How can you help me do this? Right? Do you know someone in software engineering that I could speak with? Or maybe you have a target company. Do you know someone that works at that company? And that way someone will understand, like, that's how I can help Ashley. All right. That was great. Let's go to Walter's next.
Walter.
My name is Walt. Oh, or after you, Colin. Go ahead.
Colin, go ahead.
My name is Walter. I have been a software developer for 30 years. I have a Master of Science in mathematics. How do I get a job as a machine learning engineer?
Awesome. So Walter, what I would recommend is take that and take a little more time to research the transferable skills from a software developer to a machine learning engineer. And then so you can connect the dots for people, right? In that middle statement. And that way they can help you say, like, oh, great, Walter actually knows what he's doing. He can hit the ground running in this type of role. But I love the specificity you guys have. This is awesome. That's usually like the first problem we have when we do these. They're not specific enough. And let's do Karen's.
Hi, I'm Karen. I have a passion for the outdoors and showing the world what there is to offer. If you were me, what would be the best way to share this?
So Karen, that's good, but I think it's not specific enough, because people can be like, oh, do you want to work in the travel industry? Do you want to go work in parks? Or, like, I would say narrow it down for people, because you want them to be able to open their network to you and give you a referral. And again, you'll want to test out, like maybe different people have different connections. You can research them in advance and target this, but you're going to have to be a little more specific there. Okay, awesome. I'm going to move on because we have to get to the live portion next. Thanks, everyone. I think, again, save these to your desktop. You're going to keep editing and refining the content as days, weeks go by, but at least you'll have it ready. If you're invited to a Zoom and at the beginning you're saying like, tell us about yourselves, you can drop in your elevator pitch. I guarantee you'll have a much better conversation through Zoom with the folks in the room by using your pitch. All right. So here, as far as the next steps, I want to recommend, buy and read the book. Like I said, what we just went through, part 1 of the stories, part 2 is how you write your pitch and then how you actually position yourself on LinkedIn and networking using it. That is all part of the personal branding chapter and the chapters beyond that. I tell everyone this little cheating tip of go read the conclusion first, because I actually list all the skills in the back of the book, and then you can go back and find the chapters that you're interested in reading. And if you really like the book, if you really like this presentation, I would love a review on Amazon. That is the most important thing of being an author right now. And if you have any, if these tips work for you, I'd love to hear that also. You can tweet me with that. And so as a bonus here, if any of you are interested in working for the company I work for, which is called Sprinklr, I want to share my referral link with you. And I'm just grab this off the page. And what the referral link does, it's a warm lead into my company. And so my company will see like, oh, Asha referred this person. Let's give them an interview and see what they're about. And so I know that many of you are looking for jobs right now. December and January are the best times to be looking for jobs. A lot of companies are posting all their new jobs for the new year. And so they're trying to interview and get people in there by January, February timeframe so that they can, hit the ground running. So good luck to all of you that are searching. Gabby, over to you.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much, Asha. That was super interesting. And I made a note too of my elevator pitch, which is, hi, I'm Gabby. I started a business that makes industry career coaching accessible to job seekers. Can you book a session today so I don't have to sing a bad karaoke song?
You might want to mention the name of the group.
Oh, no. See, this is what you were talking about, being specific.
You got to practice. Absolutely.
Exactly. Great. So our next step is going to be our live portion, our interactive session. And we do have some people who pre-submitted their LinkedIns. We also have some people who I think are here who have not confirmed. So what we'll do is we have our list of the people that we selected. So we'll start with that. And then if you see your name on the list, but you have not yet confirmed, please send us a message. But we're actually going to start with Eileen Sterlock. So Eileen, I'm going to call you up to be a presenter and that you will be allowed to talk and be a panelist. You can share your story.
Give me 1 second to get my screen set up here.
Awesome. And then up next will be Leonard. So I'll send you a note as well so you can be prepared.
Okay. So Eileen and then Leonard?
Yes.
Okay. So one thing I just want to show you, these are the folks that we had pre-selected to participate. And I want to show all of you here their LinkedIn profiles. And what I was really impressed was 8 out of the 10 folks here have gone into LinkedIn and customized their profile URLs. And so Eileen and Leonard, who we're actually starting with, haven't had a chance to do that yet. And so this is a great way where you can grab the URL, get rid of this, this junk that's after that LinkedIn puts in there. And, and then you can use that in your resume, your LinkedIn, your email signature, your business card, and it looks a lot cleaner. All right. Oh. Give me 1 second let me just stop sharing for a second.
Okay, we're actually going to start with Leonard.
Okay.
Well, we have 2 minutes. Yep, we can hear you.
Perfect.
Yes. Oh, great. Leonard. Okay. Why don't you actually tell us your elevator pitch while I'm getting set up here?
So I'm actually in the process of kind of figuring that out.
Okay.
So what I have started is, hi, I'm Leonard. I've been cultivating a customer first mentality over 10 years in event hospitality management. I recently completed a coding bootcamp at App Academy, and nice. I'm wanting to connect with people for my first job in tech. The last part is where I haven't figured out the rest. The ask.
Yeah. No, I think that's great. And I love the level of detail because I looked at your LinkedIn last night. So I have some familiarity with what, your background is. And I think you connected the dots really well. And I know that can be hard. And so I think you did a really good job. If you want, like, again, towards the end, I think the way you connected, like, this is what I did. You know, I did this coding boot camp. I'm trying to get my first job. Name specific companies, right? Or name, like, you want to work for a startup, or you want to work for a big company, right? Something to make it more specific for people. And I'll give you an example. 2013, I really wanted to work for a startup. So I remember posting on Facebook, I really want to work for a startup doing operations. And then a friend of mine, turns out she knew a venture capitalist for startups. I had no idea. And because if I wasn't that specific, she wouldn't know to refer me to that person, right? And you just don't know who's in your network. You don't know who they know. And so the more specific you can be, the better. And so, okay, I've got your profile up here. And so, okay, so one, I think on your pitch, you know, really good, just take it that extra mile and you're going to test it, right? And see what works. I think it's awesome that you have a background photo and a picture. We're going to see some people who are missing background photos. Your headline is very technical. So you may want to consider, like, software developer growing my tech stack, and maybe putting all these technical words into the about section, because it still works for the SEO if people are searching for it, but it doesn't throw people off seeing such a long technical headline, right? I almost missed, even just now, seeing that you actually have software developer growing my tech stack at the beginning here. And I think that's really neat. So that's one thing. Your about section, I love that you have it filled out. Do you have any projects that you've worked on in your bootcamp?
I do. They're in the featured links section.
So they are in here. I would also recommend putting them under education. So in education, you can put media also. And so you can put the bootcamp project links in both places. Okay. And so that would be great, I think, to see it in both places and then connect the dots, like, oh, cool, this is exactly what he was just doing in the past year. And I have a view into it. And I know what I want to speak to him about. I think here you may want to, what's great about these experiences is that you did them for a very long time, which shows like consistency and loyalty to those organizations. And that's what employers want to see. Okay. I think hyping up the customer service angle, which you did in the beginning, those are the right buzzy words to use. Because if you're a technologist that has good customer service, like, that's rare. And so I think that'll help you stand apart as organizations look to grow and to hire. And you may even want to consider, I know you're in New York, but on the East Coast, like some of the government practices of the big consulting companies, because they like hiring people with a lot of empathy and customer service, because they can relate and talk to the government customers. So kind of some out of the box thinking there. I hope that helps. Keep us posted on how you do.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right. Gabby, who's next?
All right. So we got Eileen back up. So Eileen, you're up next.
All right, Eileen, will you tell us your elevator pitch?
I don't really have one, to be totally honest. I am mid-pivot, I guess, trying to figure out where I want to go next. I've been doing one thing very specifically for a long time, and I have a couple of different directions I could maybe go in, so it's really hard to come up with a specific 30-second pitch at this time. Okay, no, that's fine. So I know, your profile here shows you've clearly been an attorney since you finished school, and your specialty is in immigration. Yeah. And so I think, if I remember correctly from what you pre-submitted, like, you want to work in a different space, correct? Yeah, not immigration, hopefully not as an attorney. So very different space. Okay. So I used to live and work in Washington, D.C. for a long time, where literally every other person was a lawyer. Yeah. And I saw how they use their legal skills, not as a lawyer. Like, I actually don't know a lawyer who practiced law in DC. So I know there are tons of opportunities to use the skills that you've learned, the writing, reading, synthesis of information, being able to work really long hours, right? In different contexts of an organization. So I think it's just a matter of positioning those skills that you have to people to show, like, I'm ready, willing, and able to take on the challenge that you have if you give me that chance. Right. And so here I would actually, you can, put a background photo up here. You can update your headline to be like, attorney ready to use her skills. I'll give an example, in the nonprofit space. Okay. Or attorney ready to use her skills in a program management role. And so that. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. But just, you want to add the words to your profile so you come up in the searches.
Is there a good way to do that? Because I feel like I could go in like multiple different directions. So I kind of want something that is, obviously I can't change it like every other day depending on the job I'm applying for. Is there something that like
maybe you make it general enough, you focus on your skills, right? You can say like, here are the skills that I can bring to the table. Okay. And then you can say, I'm open to X, Y, and Z type of roles. That way you're not precluding anyone.
Great.
Okay. Because if you're on the search and it looks like you've been on the hunt for like probably a year.
Yeah.
No one's going to judge you for having like the kitchen sink in the about.
Cool.
Like, don't worry about it. Like nobody minds scrolling up and down a LinkedIn profile, but they do mind if a resume is more than a page or two.
Okay.
Okay. And I think, what's interesting is when I first saw this and I wasn't sure what, if you like liked the immigration aspect, like there's so many human rights organizations that need help right now. You may even want to volunteer with some just to get your door and exposure to some other things of how the attorney skill set and what you know how to do can be used in a different context.
Yeah.
Okay. But these are organizations that they need help.
Yeah, I'm trying to steer away from that because that's basically what I've been doing for a long time. So trying to pivot like into more of a kind of a business environment versus like a very high stress, very high trauma, human rights type
okay.
work.
So you want to be in an office?
Potentially. I mean, not necessarily, but yeah, I just something less trauma rich than the work that I've been doing.
Okay. No, I think that's totally fair then. So I think just again, like you have to spend some more time, like maybe talking to other people who have made changes out of law into other careers. You talk to people who went to your law school, alumni. Do you know how to search for alumni on here?
Yes.
Okay. If other folks don't, we can do that towards the end. But that's the thing where you can like search for alumni, see where the paths they've taken, what organizations they've been to, and just ask for an informational conversation, right? You're not asking for a job. Just how did you make that switch? And so there is I have a lawyer that I feature in my book where she would try to have like 2 conversations a week. And she was really shy about it, but she's like, if I want to get out of law, because she didn't enjoy it. She didn't want to specialize. She had to have those conversations to understand where her skill set could be used. And so I think that's really important to just like push yourself, have those conversations, get the examples and the frame of references, and then be able to write this in a way that people will find you and want to bring you into their organization.
Okay, great.
All right. I hope that helps. All right. So I see, before we go to the next person, I saw in the chat, someone wanted to know how to update their LinkedIn profile to show a customized URL. So I'm going to do that really quickly. So you go to your own profile, and up here in the top right corner, it says edit public profile and URL. This is the most important link. And here when you click that link, the next box that appears in that corner is edit your custom profile URL. And so when you click this, it's going to show you, your first name, hyphen last name, hyphen numbers and letters. And you can change that to your first name, last name. If you have a company, maybe your company name, a combination of your company name and your name, combination of your skill and your name. Like there's so many different ways, but you can put your special characters in here and then save it. And that'll update the SEO. And then you can use that link, like I said, on your resume, on your email signature, on your business card, and then people will know how to find you.
Thank you, Asha. Sandra, let us know if that works for you. I saw that we had one person who was able to work through it too.
Okay, great. And so who's next on our list?
We have Abby up next.
All right.
Hey, Abby, how's it going?
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us.
Hello, Abby.
Thank you for having me.
All right, Abby, let's hear your elevator pitch.
Sure. Hi, I'm Abby. I'm a research associate who works with social justice CBOs to conduct research that will help propel their mission through quantitative, qualitative, and mixed methods research methodologies. I have a passion for ensuring that my research positively impacts the beneficiaries served by organizations.
That was awesome. You used an acronym in there that I'm not familiar with. Can you tell me what that was? Yeah.
Civil-based organizations. Civil society organizations.
Okay. So I think I would, just say this is for everyone. Don't use acronyms. you can't assume that the person you're speaking to understands the acronym that you're speaking about, even if they work in the same industry, because similar acronyms can mean something different to different people in different organizations. Okay. But I think that was really strong. So if I were to like summarize that, like you can do monitoring and evaluation.
Yes, that's correct.
Oh my gosh, like boom. So I think those are the words that you need to add to your headline, right? Monitoring and evaluation expert. You can create an about section that talks about the monitoring and evaluation projects that you have done and the improvements and the impact as a result of those projects. And if you have links, maybe some of those projects have been featured in case studies on your website, on the company's website, put those as media under the experience section. Okay. Because if it's out there in the public universe, you're allowed to put it on your LinkedIn profile.
Okay.
All right. But I think that's great. And I think there are so many roles for monitoring and evaluation. It's just a matter of like what type of entity you want to be doing that for.
Right.
So then you want to narrow that down also. And then you can say, okay, I want to do monitoring and evaluation, and maybe it's country-based, maybe it's a program. That's what you can help. And then once you start narrowing it down, you'll be able to find the roles, because I know, having worked in nonprofits for 4 or 5 years, they all suffer from having not enough staff to do monitoring and evaluation.
Right.
And so you're a hot commodity in that sense of someone who knows how to do the work, who can do it well and show demonstrable results based on the links that you have in your profile and the stories that you can share.
Right. Thanks so much, Asha. I have one question. Like, I currently work for a consulting company, and I worked for another consulting company before the current company.
Okay.
I was thinking of like pivoting to doing freelance consulting and monitoring evaluation. So like my elevator pitch didn't include like how can someone help me, because I don't really know how to help myself at the moment. So I wanted to ask you, like, how can I like effectively communicate that to someone?
Yeah. So you can just change that last statement in the pitch. Right. Okay. And so that's where the pitch becomes malleable as you adjust it for the situation. So you would instead say, I'm looking to start my own freelance consulting practice on monitoring and evaluation. Do you know anyone who needs this type of help?
Nice. Okay. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Awesome. So next up, we've got Leonard.
All right. Leonard, all the way from Australia?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Thank you for joining us. And congratulations on graduating earlier this year.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right. So Leonard, we have to do a lot of work on your LinkedIn profile.
Yeah. Can't start your video because the host has stopped it.
You're fine.
I can also allow you.
Okay.
To do as well.
Yeah. I know my what's it called? The about section was not very refined. I think I've actually rewritten a new one just now to more directly highlight my background in music. So I think,
No, I think that's awesome. You probably have videos of you performing.
No, actually I don't, but
Photos?
I did. No, I don't, but I did actually do a what do you call it? I did a video once to promote like because I'm with the HFA Hemophilia Foundation Victoria, and I actually did a video on resilience in October, I think, for them, but I wasn't actually too sure whether I should upload that.
Absolutely. If they're willing to let you post it, I don't know if they post it publicly. Again, if they post it publicly, then you can post it here. No issues.
Yeah, they've posted it on Facebook. Now I actually have been. Because earlier this year, I actually did a short, what do you call it? A soundtrack for a short 5-minute movie, and I'm not.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that was part of my thanks. That was part of my university course.
Okay.
And so if I can upload that, I should, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You can upload that.
Yeah.
You can upload a link to the movie page. Maybe you're listed in the credits.
Yeah. Well, no, it's just the movie and the soundtrack.
The soundtrack. Okay. So I would just, post that on here, and then you can write in the description when you upload the media, there's room to put a title and some text. You can write in the text that that's you on the soundtrack and the instruments that you played. And that if it's original music, you can write that all in that description. And then that becomes the SEO on the site. I think this is awesome. I think you can definitely ask around. I bet some other people who are in these performances have pictures that you may be in. And so I'd be surprised that you don't have any photos and video, but definitely ask around, ask other people who are there if they have any they could share with you.
Oh, you mean so if I've done because I've done piano recitals in the past. Are you saying upload pictures of that?
Because if you want to go into music, you want to show you're a musician.
Oh, okay.
Right. And I think putting a picture, if you were to put a picture of you playing the piano, it'd be too small for your headshot. Right. Yeah. But you could put a beautiful background picture. I can just picture already a piano on the stage and you playing in that background photo. And then I know right away, Leonard, the piano player.
Right. Okay.
Right. And same thing here, because you graduated, you want to update your headline and say, you're a musician looking for X. You didn't tell me your elevator pitch. Let's do that quickly.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Okay. Hi, I'm Leonard. I graduated from university this year with a Bachelor of Arts in Music and Psychology. I am a self-focused candidate who enjoys analyzing music in fine detail. I am passionate discovering how music is used to elicit particular emotions, particularly in movies and video games.
That was really great. That was really specific. And so, I just think about the gaming industry right now is on fire. And so, you potentially list a few gaming companies that you're interested in working in and see if people know anyone there. Right.
Okay. Sure.
And the other one, because you just graduated, you still have access to the career services at the university.
Yeah.
So definitely stay in touch with them, because companies reach out to them asking for students, and you want to be on top of mind as a recent graduate.
Okay.
Okay. So I think you have you have all the content there. Your pitch was great. You have the new about that you mentioned. You have photos and videos that'll really make a really rich profile. And then what you can do in the education section is you can list some of the courses that you took, because you have this really unique intersection of music and psychology. And so tell people how you want to bring those together in the role that you take. You can do that in the about section also. I love that you have a volunteering section. Most people don't put that. And I think it really shows that you're really well-rounded, that you weren't just all about school, and you've got skills, you got that filled out. You can follow some more organizations. If they're gaming companies, and this is for anyone, if they're companies that you are really interested in, follow them on LinkedIn, because what they do is they sometimes target their advertising to the people that follow them. And that could include job openings. And I know that because as an employer, I've done that. I've targeted LinkedIn ads for jobs to people who follow our page. And so this is a great way to get exposure, because they want to target people who follow them. So Leonard, I hope that was helpful. Do you have any other questions?
No, I don't actually. So just to follow up, did you say contact the university?
Yes, the university's career services office. And they'll also have one for alumni. So because you're a recent enough graduate, they may still take you in the undergraduate career services office. But if they don't, then say, hey, can I go over to the alumni office?
Okay.
All right.
Yep, sure. Right. Sure.
Okay. Good luck.
Thanks, Asha.
All right.
Thanks.
All right. So it seems like we have hit the limit of who is here and who's interested in talking. If I missed you and your name is on that list, please raise your hand. We'll call you up as a panelist. And Asha, I don't know if you want to head to questions or if you want to open it up to anyone who's in the panel as well, or who's an attendee right now to have the option for a spontaneous one. Yeah, we could probably do one or two more and then go to the questions. Maybe
why don't we do some of the questions? And then if people want to, raise their hand in the chat, then we can switch back. Okay.
Perfect. Great
All
idea.
right,
And reminder too, tag Skills by Asha on Twitter, follow ResMarket and Asha's account. I posted the links in there. And please take a look at our ResMarket advisors. They're pretty awesome. Like this one. Right. I don't know if you're above me or to the side of me, but.
Maybe Colin can help us read some questions.
All right. Should I read the pre-submitted questions or the ones that are open right now?
Oh, let's use the pre-submitted, and I'll come through the chat also while you're doing that.
Okay. From Bishmer at Singapore, how do we validate our professional accomplishments that are under NDA with a new employer?
So I think this is an interesting one because you can always talk about it without specificity. In the case, like if you're talking about something you did with a customer, you can talk about that customer's industry versus the customer name. On the technical side, you don't want to reveal anything that's proprietary. So again, you want to see what has the company reported out, what have they posted publicly, and that's information that you can share because it's out in the public realm. So you can be careful, but you can also find a way to talk about what you're working on. Don't ever feel like the NDA is preventing you from doing that.
Yep, pretty much. And some NDAs can't be enforced, so do keep in mind. But not a lawyer, so do talk to a lawyer about that.
We're none of us are lawyers.
From Michelle, San Francisco, what do I do if I have few relevant transferable skills?
And I would say, Michelle, you're not looking hard enough. We just heard so many examples from the people that came off the chat and from earlier from the book. You have so many transferable skills. It's all just a matter of your storytelling around them. So I think when you say something like this, you're like underselling your own skills because you definitely have the capacity and the willingness to do the job that you want to do. So I think that hopefully we dispelled the myth here that you have very few transferable skills. In my book, I'll tell you, there are 42 transferable skills. I think I have over 30 of them, just to give you a sense of like, you have a lot of transferable skills. And it also depends on the context. Some you may only use at work, some you only use in your volunteer activities. And the idea is you want to be able to use them in either one. All right, next up.
Awesome, I can take this one. This one's from Kushbu. I'm a master's student with 10 years of work experience. Any tips where I can present my work experience and education background while searching for a job?
Yeah. So again, I think, LinkedIn is the most powerful way to demonstrate your experience and the transferable skills and what you want to do next. And she's in school, so she can definitely say like, I'm, 2022 graduate seeking X job in Y industry, right? Some other people may feel less comfortable being as blatant. And so you can just say, position yourself, I'm an expert in XYZ in your headline. And then in your about section, say, always looking to meet other people who are interested in discussing X, Y, and Z, right? There are ways that you can write this without being like, I'm looking for a job. Okay. So don't feel like you can't say that. You're open to networking. You're open to meeting new people. Those may include recruiters. So I think that will help Kushbu as she finishes her degree and goes into the workforce.
Absolutely. Awesome. And then for the next question, what are the top transferable skills to highlight when you want to move into a management role or a senior position in cybersecurity or data analytics?
So I think regardless of the industry, the number one you want to position is your leadership. And so I meet a lot of people who are in individual contributor roles at work, but outside of work, they're president of their alumni association, they're leader of their church group. And so I think that you need to start thinking about these leadership experiences outside of the context of the four walls of work and being able to talk about them as you want to position yourself for the leadership roles in the office and use those experiences to say like, I can organize, 30 volunteers on a Saturday to pick up garbage along the river. I have the management and leadership skills to do that, to make a schedule, to do the communications, collaborate with the team, get people to do their assigned responsibilities. And you just talk about it in a way that translates what needs to be done at work. And so I think that leadership is number one. Like I said, communication, collaboration, teamwork, people management are all really important for wanting to move into that type of role.
So, and maybe before we head into the next slide, we can take a question from the live Q&A chat.
Yeah. Colin, you have a few there?
Yeah. I was going to ask if Stephanie is here, like, I'm in the cybersecurity industry. So to be more, it would be more helpful if we knew like what sort of management, product management, project management, or what senior position. Do you want to be a CISO? Do you want to be a CTO? Like it would be helpful to understand what you're aiming for before anybody could tell you like, here's the skills you would need to do that, and here's where you started from, and here's what you would know. But as a general rule of thumb, the cybersecurity industry is very hot right now. There's a lot of things going on. The government's trying to hire as many people as possible. And well, you know, if you know anything about the industry, it is esoteric and hard to understand and hard to break into. But once you're in, you are a hot commodity. So let me look at these open questions. I'm just going to read them in the order I'm looking at them. From Emily Weisfield. Her question is, how long do you have to be in a role to gain transferable skills?
Not long. I think that's the best part about it. You may realize also skills that you don't like using. And so I think that's the one thing about when you think about a role that you're in. If you join a company, you know, within a couple of weeks, you realize like, you know what? I really like going to certain types of meetings and being parts of certain types of conversations and working on the outputs of that meeting and the deliverables needed there. Versus you may decide that in a different set of meetings, you don't like doing that. And so do you like using writing skills or quantitative skills? You'll figure that out pretty quickly. And then you have, you know, that's more of the harder skills. And on the soft skill side, you realize like, do I like working on projects by myself or do I want to be part of a team? Right. And so these are pretty like basic things that you'll figure out pretty quickly. Again, not only at work, but if you're in school and in a student life activity, if you're working on a startup, you'll figure out these things pretty quickly.
I hope that's a good answer to Emily's question, and I'll mark that as done. The next question is from Anonymous. Is it proper to include your relevant career history, core skill set in your elevator pitch?
You can summarize it. So I think there was someone we had earlier who had 30 years of experience. He summarized it. He didn't go into like 30 years experience in industry X, Y, Z with companies 1, 2, and 3, right? So if you can find a way to do it really succinctly and in a way that somebody will ask the next question, oh my gosh, tell me what you did for that long, and that, and then you start to go into the detail. But the elevator pitch is to open that conversation and to create that interest and curiosity. So you have a dialogue with that person and hopefully they can help you with what you're trying to do next.
Make sure it's relevant though.
Absolutely.
Next question, also from an anonymous attendee. What do I do if I can't do any tasks that involve public speaking? I'm a huge introvert and I get so much anxiety having to do presentations. This affects my work day-to-day life.
Gosh, if I told you that I was a shy introvert as a kid, you wouldn't believe me, but I was. And so it takes practice. And one way that I learned to practice was I would do small trainings at work for new employees. So the team that I was working on at the time, we were working on something that was like something that affected the entire company. And we needed new companies to understand that. So I would schedule like a mini new hire, like learning session. And it would only be like 4 or 5 people, but it got me comfortable. Like I had to put the presentation together. I had to deliver the presentation. And when it's a small setting like that, like no one's judging your like speaking ability. And so I think taking little steps like that can help you. But if you're like deathly terrified, right? Just like, and there are opportunities that present themselves like that, like have an honest conversation with your manager. You can say, I'm not comfortable doing this. And if it, and there are roles where, they'll be like other people on the team may be really excited to do the speaking opportunity. Remember, in a team, you're all complementary to each other. And so I think that if you don't want to do it, there will be somebody else that will. Don't feel like it's an obligation that you have to do it.
Yep. And as a follow-up, like a lot of people are introverts that happen to have to do presentation stuff. And that's really a skill you have to learn. Coming from a journalism background, a lot of journalists are actually introverts, except you see them on the television all the time. How do they do that? They learn it. And one of the tricks they taught us before we did video broadcasting was imagine the worst case scenario and understand you're not going to be anywhere close to that. So get it into your head, like when you can visualize your failure and understand you can't fail any harder than that, you've accepted it, then you can move forward and go forward with confidence.
Absolutely. I saw Susie just put in the chat, she forced herself to go everything for networking. What I did is, because I hate networking events also, just walking into a room and not knowing who's there, I would go to an event with a speaker. And my goal was I wanted to meet the speaker. And so I would go to the event, sit in the front row, listen to the speaker. And then as soon as they were done, beeline to go meet them, give them my business card, and then schedule coffee later. I'm telling you, it worked 100% of the time. And what it did was it narrowed my view, like it's just me and the speaker, and I'm going to talk to the speaker after this, and then I'm getting out of here. And so there are different ways, techniques that you can do and figure out what's your comfort zone to dealing with this.
Absolutely. A trick that really helped me too is to always go with a buddy, somebody who I can feel really comfortable with, so that if I get overwhelmed or really nervous and then this is more specific for networking events than work, but at least to know that like somebody's got my back. And if I need a break from socializing, I can have that very safe space.
Absolutely. Any other questions from the chat, Colin?
Oh, yes. There's quite three more, I think.
Okay.
We also do have, sorry, Colin, to interject. We do have somebody who's willing to do a LinkedIn review as well, who's not submitted. So maybe after this question, we can do that. Yeah,
that, and Anna has, who was scheduled to be reviewed, apparently had internet connections, but now she's here. So we'll do both of them together. Let's get to Julia's question, which is, how do we present ourselves in LinkedIn if we are aiming for several possible roles or industries during our job search? For example, instructional designer or instructional technologists or program manager.
And those are all adjacent. So I think this is where, like, if you are in a full-time job search and you're not worried about like an employer finding what you're doing or anything like that, use the about section of the page to write, I'm interested in these 3 types of roles. And you can write, this is why. I want to do instructional designer because I have these skills. I want to do instructional technologist because I want to rely on these skills. I want to do program manager because I'm interested in these industries, right? And that way you can just be like really clear on your interest and your capability and your capacity to take on this new role.
Hope that answers your question, Julia. Question from Brahim. I have a meeting with the recruiter in UX research this week. I am an academic with experience in qualitative research and foreign language teaching in higher education.
Nice.
What should I expect and what do I need to do to prepare for the meeting?
So I think that qualitative research is going to be the main skill that you want to talk about, because especially as a UX researcher, you're having those conversations, with your constituents, but the ability then to synthesize and present that data back to the rest of the company is really important. And so I think the fact that you're a teacher also means that you're probably comfortable with presenting, and you'll be able to present the findings of the conversations you're having. So I think you have all the relevant skills there. And that's why this recruiter wants to talk to you this week. So good luck with that conversation.
And finally, an anonymous question. I have 30 years of work experience. For my resume, I've been told that I should only show jobs going back 10 to 12 years. How many years of employment should you list in your LinkedIn profile? The same 10 to 12 year maximum or more?
That's a really good question. I've seen both done. I think it all depends on how relevant the experience is before the 10 to 12 years, or are the company names really strong? Because if you've worked for some really major companies and you want to work for another major company, that'll serve you well to then list that you worked there. And so you can then position, okay, is that an extra line on my resume? Like previous roles include, jobs at XYZ enterprise companies, then you can put it there. So think about what are you trying to get in the next role and how that information can serve you to get it. It's all like, think of yourself as the product and what are the elements, features, and functions of the product that you want to show off.
Okay, those are our questions for now.
Okay.
We have Anna, Alexandra that are coming in for their LinkedIn review.
Great.
Let me just pull them in as a panelist.
We have Anna and we'll get Alexandra as well.
Alexandra, panelist.
And I'm seeing a lot of Toastmasters plugs in here too. And I think it's really awesome as well. Definitely helped me as get some structure and comfort in a cool way.
Oh, that's great. It's something that I've always wanted to do, but never prioritized the time to do. And so I think it really depends like how important, again, is the public speaking and the structure of the Toastmaster sessions will work for you. All right. So let me start. I'm going to start with Sandra. Share back the screen. Okay. Can you come off mute, Sandra?
I can, yeah. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you great. Do you want to do your elevator pitch for us?
So I can do what's there. It's definitely I definitely don't have all of it. Hi, I'm Alexandra, and I've been I've been interested in biology pretty much my entire life. Studied biology as an undergrad, and in grad school I transitioned to bioinformatics. And this and having the background in science, I'm really struggling to formulate the third part. I mean, just
you're interested in
to separate rivers, if you get my meaning.
Okay, no, because I read through your profile. So it's exactly what you have in your profile. So I think like that consistency is really important also, right? And as you're testing out pitches, you'll see how you can adjust your profile to match your pitch, right? So I think your consistency is awesome. I think, one thing, when you study biology, you naturally have like a quantitative background, right? So that should open many roles for you, but you want to work in pharma. I understand that, right? And so have you, reached back out to like your university to see if they have connections into the pharmaceutical industry?
So I have done that. So basically that I transitioned to bioinformatics, and that back as an undergrad, I did take a course related to pharma industry.
Okay.
But that's not.
But it's not helping you now. So I would actually list that.
Bioinformatics on its own gets pretty tedious, but pharma, I feel, is
broader.
It's more tedious than that.
Okay. So I'm actually going to use this opportunity to show everyone how to find alumni at the school. And this is going to help you with the networking. So here, so Sandra went to Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. You saw how I clicked on the logo and her education. It brought me to the school page. On the school page, when you click alumni, it's telling you there are 156,000 people on LinkedIn who went to the same school, and they have profiles. And so, Sandra, you're in California, right?
Yes.
In the Bay Area? There's 2,000 other alumni from your school in the Bay Area. That's really cool. And they work, a lot of them are at Apple and Intel, but you got 14 people at Genentech. Genentech might be one of your target companies, right?
It has been one of my target companies, and one company that I haven't had a lot of luck with.
So now, what if I said, Sandra, you have 14 alumni at this, at Genentech. If you were to message them and say, hey, can I have 15 minutes of your time to understand why you love working at Genentech? Maybe 3 or 4 respond, right? And then, then you can ask them for a referral into the company, and then you'll have a higher chance of getting an interview.
Okay.
You think you can do that?
I think I could do that. Yeah. And just, good to me to do what you just showed.
Yeah. So I think that's one way to do it. And then the same way here, like maybe instead of Genentech, you want to work Kaiser is a healthcare company, right? And they have a pharma division as well.
Yeah. And then
you have 17 alumni at Kaiser. And they're in all different types of roles. And again, if you reach out to these 17 people, maybe 5 or 6 will actually respond back, right? And that's all you want, is even if one responds back, to have that conversation with one person at your target company is amazing. And when you reach out to these people, you're going to say like, hey, Phil, I'm Sandra. I studied at Southern Illinois like you did. I'm in the Bay Area. Would love to learn why you love working at Kaiser. Can I have 15 minutes of your time? Okay. And then you just set up a call or a Zoom chat, talk to Phil. Phil, why do you like working as a radio technologist at Kaiser? How long have you been there? Do you miss Southern Illinois? Right. There's so many things that you can make a conversation with. And then you develop a relationship with Phil, you connect on LinkedIn with him. And then maybe, a few weeks later, you find a role at Kaiser and you're like, Phil, I really enjoyed our conversation. I think I could work at Kaiser too. Would you mind submitting my resume as a referral? And he can either say yes or no, but you got to take that chance. Right. And if he says like, go ahead.
That actually reached out to another one of my connections.
Okay.
And that who my personal just didn't ask for 15-minute call, asked for a 30-minute call to just reconnect.
You know how to do this.
And he hasn't replied back.
Okay.
Typically, how long should I wait before?
Yeah, that's a good question. Yeah. So I think, we're reaching we're right now in this period before the holidays and people are maybe like too busy to write back. So you have to send like maybe 1 or 2 emails for the holidays and then try again in the new year.
Okay.
Okay. But that's just because we're in a funny time of year right now. And people are like, they want to go on vacation. They've been at home too long, but don't think it's because they don't want to talk to you. It's just, they're too busy. Mm-hmm. The other option that you can do is, and this I've done in the past where I don't know the person too well, is I submit my resume online, but I ask that person who I don't know well, hey, I submitted it online. Would you be able to put in a good word for me with HR? And that's a pretty like low ask, I think. So that's another way to handle the situation if you're not getting a response for submitting the resume and because you want to get into the job before they close it, right? So timing is everything. All right. So I hope that helped you.
That did. Yeah. Thank you.
You're welcome. All right, Anna. Why don't you come off mute and tell us?
I'm muted. Yeah. Hi.
Hi. What's your elevator pitch?
I don't have one.
Okay. Guys, we've only been doing this like 10 times in a row now. Okay, let's look through your LinkedIn profile then, or tell me what you want to do, just so I can hear it and see if your LinkedIn profile is telling me that also.
So I'm in the middle of revamping it for a position that I'm interviewing for. So I don't have a ton of information that I just edited off of it. Mm-hmm. But I also all business man.
Oh, is she cutting out for you too?
Would like to pivot into. What was that?
Your audio is cutting out. Just try to do it really fast.
I know. This is why I've missed half of the session because of my connection's unstable.
Oh, okay. Well, it was stable right there for that whole thing. So try right now.
Just that whole thing. I've talked to some recruiters and some people, and the wall that I'm hitting is how to translate. I founded and I managed a Montessori preschool for 10 years.
Wow.
And I'm in another small local business right now. And it's like, everyone has validated that it's a ton of work and a ton of good experience. Yes. But, I've dealt with not just toddlers having meltdowns, but their parents having meltdowns simultaneously.
I can't even imagine.
And then I was the business operator, not a teacher. So,
right.
It's not like I was a teacher, so I was doing all the operations at the same time, but how to translate that over into something I'm looking to pivot into cybersecurity or ed tech or HR, like talent acquisition. Yeah. But people keep on telling me that it's like how to make it so that it means something to people who are going to be reviewing your resume in, a much bigger company than brick and mortar small business world.
So you're totally underselling your experience here. I'm mad at you. And Colin and I are going to tell you how to get into cybersecurity and ed tech right now. So you have to put on here. So the operations administrator role is actually the same role that I had at that nonprofit in my example at the beginning of the presentation. And instead of telling you that I worked as the operations manager at a nonprofit, what did I say? I did 75 VIP events where I negotiated the budgets, handled the logistics, and did the contract administration, right? I think when I had more room on my resume for that experience, I wrote, reduced expenses by 30%, negotiated 6-figure contracts for venues, things like that. Like you can use the quantify the impact of the work that you're doing, and that translate regardless of the size of the company. Because if you're someone that can walk in there and deliver 20% savings, boom, I'll hire you.
Okay.
So you have to put more detail in here to be able to show that. And I bet working in the law firm, lawyers are very picky. They're very detail oriented. So I bet you know how to be that way to help to have worked with them.
Yeah, that's what I do have is my recommendation from, I'm still in touch with her from
the firm.
Ago. Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is great. And I think, again, like we can use the same trick that we just did with Sandra. Like Bryn Mawr has a lot of alumni and very powerful roles around the country.
Yeah.
And so tapping into that base. And so I just missed, where are you located?
Bay Area, San Francisco Bay Area.
Okay. So you have 750 alumni in the Bay Area. And a lot of them actually work in universities. So if you wanted to go into UC California, Berkeley, Stanford, the medicine school, like they're there. And then the big companies like Google, let's just pick these 10 people at Google.
Okay.
So here you have, for example, you have an attorney at Google. Maybe she's worked with Mofo. Mofo's a really big law firm, right?
Right. Yeah.
She probably knows it. So if you write an email message to her and say like, hey, I worked at Mofo in downtown San Francisco. Maybe you worked with us before. I'm also a Bryn Mawr alum. Would love to chat with you about your experience at Google.
Okay.
Because what happens, and this is specific to Google, and I don't know if it's specific to other companies, people at Google can generate an employee referral link that's valid for, I think, 1 year and 3 positions. And so you want to meet one of these 10 alumni that are listed here and get that link from one of them.
Oh, okay. All right.
Big insight, right?
Yes, definitely. Yeah.
And so I think that is something that Google has that. Facebook has one where if you apply to Facebook, they want to know that you have a friend who works at Facebook. They want to be able to find that and then verify you with that person. So like these tech companies have these tricky little things. I think Salesforce, it's like 3 applications per year, but that's why you got to be really strategic. You can't just be like throwing spaghetti at the wall.
Mm-hmm.
So if you decide that you want to do something that uses the skills that you have, think about the roles that fall into that. So you can be really specific when you talk to these people, right? Like Tina, administrative business partner. I 100% bet you could do her job.
Right. Okay.
So
yeah,
she should be the top of your list for outreach. And then you're like, Tina, when you expand your team, or if you know someone else hiring a similar role in a different business unit, please have them think of me. We went to Bryn Mawr. You know what it's like. I know what it's like there. Like I am bringing those skills from Bryn Mawr to Google like you did.
Okay. That's great. Thank you. Yeah.
Yep. And then Colin, anything specific on the cybersecurity side?
Anna, you're trying to break into cybersecurity?
Yeah, what I'm valued for most at where I work now is for problem resolution and figuring out what's going wrong and fixing it. And I've always loved solving mysteries.
Let me just take a look at your LinkedIn again.
So I typed in cybersecurity at the top. No companies came up, and I'm only looking where they're alumni, right? There may be somebody in a different city. Okay, IBM. Somebody at IBM from Bryn Mawr works in cybersecurity. So it could be something where then you start expanding your search.
Okay, right.
But yeah. I think, I've worked with auditors in the cybersecurity space. The auditors would love a skill like yours because it's so much document development and creation and interviews and analysis of those interviews. And it's actually painstakingly detailed work. Because you cannot
I love to do that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I would actually look at the auditors in the cybersecurity space, companies like Shalman, Kratos, Align, Imagine IT. Again, because I've worked with them in the past year. I understand the personas of the people that I'm working with, and you would be great there.
So
wow.
yeah, when earlier you were talking about you've been dealing with meltdowns. When companies get ransomware, everybody melts down. When the servers are locked out and developers can't do anything and nobody knows who to talk to get the things starting up again, everyone melts down. So my personal prediction for the next 5 years is there's a huge market for helping big companies figure out their disaster response program, their disaster response policy. So that's, without having looked at your resume too deeply, that was a place I would tell you to start with. And just, general educational training for cyber personnel when it comes to cybersecurity is going to be very hot in the next 5 years as well, because those of us in the industry know only amateurs hack machines, professionals hack people.
There you go.
Okay. Wow. That says a lot.
And similar to in the beginning when we had Leonard on and he talked about his customer experience in the restaurant industry, but he's going to use that for tech. Anna, you use your experience in the school to show your empathy and that you're able to work with customers and clients. Like Colin said, when you're in a situation like that as a company, it is high tensions. And you need someone who can be able to come in and diffuse the situation, understand what actually happened, document, capture that, produce the situation reports, produce the incident report, and to be able to present to the board. And you want someone who's even keeled to be able to do that. So you may actually really enjoy that type of work.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Okay, great. That was amazingly helpful. Thank you.
You're welcome. Good luck.
Thank you.
Good luck.
All right. I think Gabby, it's over to you.
You bet. So we are already at the end of our time, which is very sad because this has been super awesome. Asha, I think you've done a great job translating how to translate transferable skills.
Thank you.
And really understanding how we can kind of bring this together to make these pivots. And just to, summarize some of the points that you mentioned, right? Really nailing that elevator pitch and leaving it as that open-ended question where the person on the other side, even if they're not your first stop, they'll help you connect, or even if they're not your end destination, they could still be that first stop for you
100%.
And open the door to someone else. I know too, like that's how I've benefited for so much. And that's how I help people. They come to me, they say, hey, I want to pivot into this field. I'm like, okay, who do I know who I can introduce you to? And it just ripples out from there. And I think that what you've articulated is so perfectly on that. And getting that elevator pitch right is such a great first step for that.
Oh, that's such a great summary, Gabby.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, I got good material to work off of. And for everyone, just a reminder, so we do have the special promotion going on. We also do have a survey, and we would love your feedback. We're also thinking about doing a LinkedIn event. So if you're interested in that, please indicate that in the survey. It is now in the chat. So you're able to go in there and let us know what you thought of the session, any highlights. Truly, it means so much for us when we hear your feedback, positive and negative, because it gives us that opportunity to grow. And we're going to post the links to the book and to Asha's advisor profile as well. If you liked what you saw here, you're absolutely going to get that in the book times 5,000. At least that's been my experience thus far. And I really hope that you all could benefit from it. I know that I still have to make my way to the LinkedIn portion because I've got my own LinkedIn to fix up. And yeah, if you want to book a session with Asha or any of our advisors, please take a look at our catalog and what we offer. Again, the promo code Albert's List at checkout, you can get 5% off to the end of the year. Don't wait until 2022 to get that started. You can get the ball rolling now. And then when you're ready, you'll have that job lined up, be able to start that new year fresh with that career pivot that you're looking to make. Awesome. And then we have to announce our winner of our contest.
So Gabby, I don't see any tweets.
Oh no, I got some follows and let me check out the skills by Asha hashtag and see if we got anybody.
I think I got some follows, but no tweets. This is sad.
I got one from April.
Okay.
Truly appreciate the AmeriCorps Alumni Network got to attend a great event, Skills by Asha. Also an AmeriCorps alum, so love that. And definitely a great place for transferable skills. So from that randomly selected group, so April, congratulations. Please we'll follow up with you and would love to connect to then get you that free book.
All right, we do have some open questions. Should we answer that? Or is this, are we at time? What's your schedules looking like?
I can stay if there are additional questions. I'm happy to do that.
Okay.
I'm here.
Oh yeah, then I will just read their questions out loud right now. From April, our contest winner. She asked, I've worked in nonprofit managing individual and organizational relationships, but am looking to move to project management with a more internal focus. I'm not sure how to articulate that pivot in a LinkedIn profile.
So so April, I did the same thing. Like I mentioned, went from nonprofit to tech, back into nonprofit, back into tech. So I know this really well. What you're doing in the nonprofit is called program management. And so you have more holistic responsibility over people, process, technology, perhaps the budget involved there. And when you go into the project management, you're just slicing off a bit, and that's what you want to focus on. So you can be able to shape your program management experience as projects. And so this may be, in talking about the aspects again of people, process, technology, and budget as you go into those interviews. But you definitely have the stories 100%. I believe that in what you've been doing in your nonprofit work to position yourself for those type of roles.
And Asha, a quick follow-up question there too. Would you recommend also like changing the title at all if it does kind of still articulate what you did, but maybe isn't the direct title that you were given?
Absolutely. I have changed project and program manager on my resume and LinkedIn multiple times. To me, they're interchangeable in that sense. It's more like project management is more technical in nature. I put that in quotes because it's typically where you see it, and program management will be like in the nonprofit. So, or even like in a higher level role than a technical role. So you can definitely use them interchangeably and use the one you need when you need it.
Absolutely.
Okay. Next question from Ratri M. Hi, I have submitted a question on LinkedIn this morning related to startup founder back to workforce. My question, how do you show your experience wearing multiple hats as the startup founder convinced employer?
Okay.
I would say.
I think I understand. She wants to go find a full-time job now after she's lived the life as a startup founder. And so similar to what we talked about with other people here, there are a lot of roles, especially like nonprofit, government, small business, where you wear a lot of hats. Like we undervalue how many hats these folks work. And so what you can do is, in your LinkedIn, either in the description or in the about section, you can write like, I was a Jill of all trades. I was dealing with customers. I was dealing with product. I was writing the marketing copy, and just be explicit about the things that you worked on. And then again, use the media to show like what you did as far as build a website, build an app, have customer case studies, speak at an event. And that way you can show like you're well-rounded also as a professional that wants to come work in their workplace. What you want to hype up is your entrepreneurship experience. Companies love that. They love hiring people with entrepreneurship experience because they want you to come in and be an entrepreneur in their company, right? So you're going to be able to look for like, where are the problems? How can we fix them? And have a go, go, go type of mentality versus, some other people where they're going to hire a specialized skill set to handle a specific thing. So you definitely have like a narrative that can be shared with bigger companies and they will welcome it.
Okay, thank you, Asha. From Alexandra. After applying to a position, just to double check, is it my connections I want to ask if they can put in a good word for me with the hiring manager?
Yes. So Sandra, it can be either the hiring manager or with HR. Different companies work differently when it comes to handling the referral. So typically, if I know someone that's applied for a role, I'll try to find the recruiter to tell them like, hey, I know this person that applied for the role, please interview them. And then then I know because the next interview will be with the hiring manager. So I don't want to like bias it too much, or if I know, if I have a really strong candidate where I'm like, no, you have to like definitely interview this person and maybe HR is not answering my call, then I'll go to the hiring manager and say, please interview this person. They're going to be a really strong fit for your role. So there are multiple options there, and you want to be able to position it in a way that the person doesn't feel obligated to do one or the other. Okay.
Thank you. From Tracy Lau. I'm going through a job transition from marketing specialist to project coordinator. Should I list my previous marketing skills or would it be confusing?
No, because Tracy, when you become a project coordinator, you're going to be doing marketing.
Yeah, I can tell you, you will be.
So please list your skills. Marketers are in high demand. But if you want that new title, then you focus on that title, but your marketing skills are going to serve you for the rest of your life.
Marketing is great, Tracy.
Yeah.
The first thing you need to know how to sell is yourself.
100%.
An anonymous question is, are job acquisitions bad? Many people are leaving and I don't know how this will affect my position because I don't want to get laid off. Our job
a little perplexed by that question.
I'm also confused.
Maybe it's maybe attrition is potentially.
Is it job?
Okay, so many people are leaving and I don't want to affect my position. So if people are leaving, it puts you in a stronger position because you have the knowledge of how the company works and runs and how the role has happened. So I wouldn't be too worried about a layoff. That said, if your company is going through some poor financial performance, because customers are pulling contracts as a result of the pandemic, or they're not growing as fast as they thought they would be, and there's pressure from outside investors, then it's nice to be a passive job seeker.
Yeah.
Not going to lie, and this is where you want to, make sure you're updating your LinkedIn and your resume every 6 months. So it has fresh information. You have the stories that you can tell, off the tip of your tongue in case a recruiter does reach out, and that you don't have that. You should never have that worry. That's too much of a burden to carry in your day to day. And so if you put yourself in a proactive position of having everything up to date and ready, and you're ready to have a conversation if somebody reaches out to you, then you won't carry that burden. So I hope that helps you.
Yeah. Don't be in a position where you're scared of being laid off because you don't have something lined up.
Yeah.
I think that's the worst case to be in. Yeah. We have questions in the general chat. There's a lot of get people to refer you. How do you convince people to put their name behind you having just met you?
Right. So I see Joyce that put that in there. So Joyce, this is why you want to develop a relationship with the person. And one of the easiest ways I think to do that is to talk to an alumni, because you have that shared experience of having walked that college campus, perhaps at different times. And so that just like that familiarity, did you live in that dorm freshman year? Oh, me too. Or did you take that class with that professor? Oh, he was nuts. Right. That type of stuff you almost become fast friends. And it kind of levels the playing field as far as you getting closer to that referral. So you reach out, you use that LinkedIn connection to say hey, we're alumni. I would like to have coffee with you or a Zoom with you to understand your experience at this company. You have that conversation, and then you'll determine by the end of that conversation, do you think you hit it off with that person or was it a bust? Right. And if you hit it off with that person, then maybe you wait until you send a thank you note afterwards. Make sure you're sending thank you notes to all the people that you're meeting. Then you say would you mind submitting a referral for me for this role? I think it's perfect for me. And after talking to you, I realize the company's perfect for me, right? Make them feel good about the conversation you had and that it informed your decision to apply to the company, right? You want to be thoughtful about it. Hopefully that answers your question.
I'd also add in terms of groups that you can reach out to, I think that Albert's List is an awesome community that is very giving. So if you even posted and said, hey, I'm looking to chat with somebody who's in this particular industry, does anyone know anyone or can connect me with someone? And you might actually get somebody to, sign up and decide to go meet with you. I'd say in that scenario, make sure you make it super easy for them to schedule something with you. So if that's having a Calendly or making it hey, here's the blocks of time that I'm free in the next week, when works for you to chat. And then again, if you're also worried and you're oh, why do they want to talk to me? You could just Venmo them $5 for coffee. Okay, yeah, let's grab coffee if it's virtual or whatever. But Albert's List could be a great community. There's other Facebook groups. I know Women in Product is one that I've seen a lot of really great gives and asks. So that kind of relationship as well. And as well as the university groups, those affinity groups, right? So were you in a specific club or a specific interest group? There's a lot of space within that, or you can find and network with people who can help make that connection.
All right, we have exhausted our questions, and I think everyone is tired. Thank you for joining us on a Wednesday evening. Thank you, Asha. Thank you, Gabby.
Thank you, Colin.
Thank you to all the attendees that are part of the Watch to the End Club. Thank you for attending tonight's webinar. Now, I hope you feel like you have the tools to optimize your LinkedIn presence and be able to sell yourself when you're trying to transfer industries. We have numerous other events that are like this. I've dropped a link in the chat. And this recording will be made available online in about 7 business days. In the meantime, have a wonderful night and have happy holidays. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.